Hey everyone, Aaron here from Two Broke Watch Snobs. Today we are talking about the Citizen Aqualand ProMaster Diver here. The Citizen Aqualand is a little bit of an unusual watch. You can tell just by looking at it. It's got this big depth gauge sensor coming off the left here. It's a full lume dial. And just has this, and it's Ani-Digi too, so it has this one digital display up here at the top along with the analog hands. For a long time when it comes to my watch collecting, I've always sort of thought of you're either a Seiko guy or you're a Citizen guy. Like, you typically prefer one or the other. But I had an experience that I wrote about in my article at Windup in Chicago where I saw somebody wearing one of these Citizen Aqualands come in from being outside, and the whole lume dial was just glowing super bright. And it really, really caught my attention, and I knew that I kind of wanted to check these out. The Aqualand is, I mean, it's a strange watch to see in person. The depth gauge obviously contributes to that. You have this sort of like PVD coated case. It's not just a brushed steel or anything like that. It's much darker. The watch itself is an actual dive computer. You can put this watch into dive mode by pressing and holding the button. And you can take it out of dive mode as well. You can cycle through the modes. So you can have your alarm, your chronograph, back to your day date. You can also view your time, elapsed seconds, so on and so forth. In addition to all of those digital features, you have a traditional timing bezel here, which is nice, really great action, lines up right away on all the different pips. There's just a lot of functionality in this kind of unusual and strange watch that you have access to. Well, maybe not unlikely, but in the event that you are a scuba diver, this watch will do a lot of stuff for you. You can, like I showed earlier, you can pop this sucker into dive mode. You get the ability to log up to, I think it's 5 or 6 dives. You can set dive alarms. It will notify you if you are ascending too quickly, which I think is kind of cool. So all in all, it's just a really unusual and interesting piece. For some specifications, you have a 50 millimeter case if you count the depth tumor there on the side, or more like a 43 millimeter case if you're just measuring the watch itself, not counting that. The water resistance or the depth rating of the watch is 200 meters, maybe a little bit light for a dive watch with this kind of provenance, but you know, if you're under 200 meters and you're recreationally diving, you made mistakes a long time ago that don't include buying a watch with 200 meter depth resistance. It comes on this rubber strap that I actually like quite a bit. It has some of the stretchy venting here. I really like this big kind of PVD coated buckle as well. And it's a nice length. I have a 7-inch wrist. I have plenty of strap left over. I think that if you have smaller than maybe 6.5, you might be looking for a different option, but it's 24 millimeter lugs, big, but you should have no problem finding other strap options for it. And you can see that Citizen makes it really easy for you to remove this stock strap as well. And then you have a mineral crystal glass. So it's not sapphire. These watches are fairly affordable. So I think this is all sort of right in line with what you would expect. From like a pro-con perspective, I just think that this is a cool and unusual watch. It's going to catch people's attention. It's going to be a conversation piece. It's highly functional. You know, it's going to replace a lot of functionality that you would see out of a G-Shock or something like that. And you just get to wear this really, really interesting piece, you know. It's not terribly expensive. I think like new MSRP, they're like $550 or so. I bought this for around $300 pre-owned. And then, I mean, it's arguably kind of cooler than a Casio or cooler than maybe an entry-level Seiko or something like that. It's just going to be something different. On the negative side, it's big. Some people aren't gonna jive with kind of the larger size of this, or they'll find it like physically uncomfortable. I find the 24 millimeter lugs are kind of like, they sort of make this thing into a bit of a wrist blanket, if you will. It's a wide, thick strap on your wrist. There's a whole, and you know, this may or may not be a negative to you, but there is like a whole section of functionality on this watch that you are likely never going to use. You're going to pop this sucker into dive mode just to kind of check it out, and then you're going to pull it back out of dive mode and move on. I think that the folks that are using this to legitimately scuba dive in 2024, that's the edge case at best. But for those of you out there that are doing it, I envy you. I would love to get there, but you know, currently I wear this watch when I ride my bike. I forgot to mention, really nice, big, knurled screw-down crown here. Easy to get a hold of that. You do set the watch. The digital portion is separate from the hands. So you'll set the digital portion, then you'll set the hands, and they stay kind of synchronized from there. But they are set independently, and they do keep time independently. And then I guess the last thing that I would say from a con perspective is the loom dial. The whole dial is loomed, and the indices and hands are loomed. So I suppose someone might say from a legibility perspective, this isn't ideal. I would agree with that. However, I think that it's perfectly adequate for my uses in a watch like this. You can see it at night. You go into a movie theater and you sit down throughout the entire movie, you'll be able to tell what time it is. So future Aaron here. I decided to cut in to give you a shot of what the loom actually looks like when it's fully illuminated. I'm splicing this into the video in the middle just so you guys can see it, but you'll see how everything's loomed. It's contrasting loom color, but it is worth pointing out on a loom dial that it is fully loomed. So you see you have your typical like glowy green on the dial, and then the hands are all blue. So I think it's pretty cool, to be honest with you, but I can see some of the legibility complaints. I guess just to sort of wrap up this video a little bit, who is the Citizen Aqualand for? Well, I mean, it's for serious scuba divers. But besides that, I think it's for watch collectors that want kind of an interesting and serious quartz piece in their collection that will be a conversation starter. These Aqualands just scream originality and quirkiness, and you're gonna catch glances from people that are both into watches and are not. If you were looking for some competitive options, I mean, we all are familiar with Casio G-Shocks. We're all familiar with other quartz options like this that are out there. Citizen makes other quartz watches that don't have that big depth gauge on there, so you would have some other options as well. But just generally speaking, I mean, you're looking at an Aqualand like this for its originality, and I think that Citizen did a really great job. So thanks for your time. Thanks for watching the video. Subscribe to Two Broke Watch Snobs to see more watch content.